Good morning, my friend. Great to have you along. We're going to get going here shortly. Did you watch the the Secret Service acting director yesterday? Oh man, it was absolutely brutal to watch it. Oh, it was crazy. So we'll get into it. Thanks so much for letting me join you. Please hit the like button; makes a big difference.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense, no prescription required.
I love the show.
I don't hate going to work anymore.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. It's great to have you along. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Thank you so much for being here. Did you watch any of the testimony of the acting Secret Service director yesterday? Wow, it was really incredible. You also had the FBI deputy director who was there taking questions, and they were taking questions from senators yesterday. And they were talking about the security failures then that, revolving around the attempted assassination of Donald Trump at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. And they put to rest the question that Donald Trump was shot. Because you remember you had the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, when he was in front of Congress recently, saying, was it shrapnel? Might have been shrapnel, might have been, whatever. Well, the deputy director of the FBI said, no, he was shot. It was a bullet that hit Donald Trump. And the deputy director, Paula Bates, said there's absolutely no doubt in the FBI's mind, saying that there never has been. Well, really? Then why was the director out there saying it might have been shrapnel, could have been? I laugh because this is like a clown car. I mean, seriously, it's like a clown car. It's a comedy of errors. And so this is Senator John Kennedy, whom I must admit to you, I love Senator Kennedy. And so he was trying to be very, very clear. He's trying to nail down the deputy director of the FBI. What was Donald Trump hit by? Was it, in fact, a bullet? And so Kennedy said, is there any doubt in your mind or in the collective mind of the FBI that President Trump was shot in the ear by a bullet fired by the assassin? And then that's when Bates said, no, there's no doubt in the FBI's mind. There never has been. It wasn't a space laser. No, it wasn't a murder hornet. Absolutely not. It wasn't a Sasquatch. I love Senator Kennedy. There's always a method to Kennedy's madness. And he said, no, Senator, it wasn't a Sasquatch. And he said, glad we cleared that up. No. So he's got a very unique way of posing questions to make it very, very clear. Yes, it was a bullet that grazed Donald Trump's ear. So can we lay that whole thing now to rest? And then I was able to watch, a little bit yesterday. Tuesdays are a busy day for me. After the program, I do, of course, the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show that I do on YouTube. So I'm getting ready for that, and then I'm hosting that, and then then I had a meeting following that, and so following the meeting that we had scheduled, I sat down and I watched some of the testimony yesterday, and I tuned in just as Senator Josh Hawley was beginning, and I got to tell you, wow! I mean, he went after the acting director of the Secret Service. This is Ronald Rowe. And Hawley said, who is the lead site agent who decided to leave this building completely outside the security perimeter? Because what we've heard reported is there was somebody stationed to that building, on the top of that building, that the shooter occupied, but left because it was too hot, right? It was too hot up there. Oh, can't have people being uncomfortable, you know. You go home and grab a bag of Cheetos, I guess. I mean, Hawley's asking, who was this? Who was this person? And so Rowe wouldn't answer who it was, and Hawley got pretty upset. He said, had they been relieved of duty? Senator, they have not been relieved of duty. And Hawley said, I know their name, by the way. Why have they not been relieved of duty? And it got more and more heated as it went on. And, you know, I had really high hopes as we've got a new acting director of the Secret Service. You got Kimberly Cheadle now, who has resigned, and is out, who was the person who was, in charge of the agency at the time of this debacle. So you've got a new guy coming in and you think, oh, thank goodness. We got somebody new coming in. It's got to, it's going to completely be different from what we've seen in the past. No, pretty much. No, what you have now is an acting director who's going to argue with Congress and still refuse to answer their questions. And I'm like, oh, that's refreshing. Are you kidding? Wow. Yes, these are crazy times we live in. This is like bizarro world on steroids now. So Hawley, it was pretty contentious. And Hawley got just fed up. And he said, what more do you need to investigate to know that there were critical failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? And then Hawley demanded that he fire somebody. That somebody needs to be fired. You have got to fire those people who are responsible. And Rose said, I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people unfairly prosecuted. And it was something else. Did you hear Senator Rand Paul, who was also there? Senator Rand Paul was on Clay and Buck yesterday, and he had a much more subdued. Now, keep in mind, Senator Rand Paul is a guy who's tough as nails. I mean, we've seen him go after Dr. Fauci, trying to get to the bottom of the whole COVID and what was going on at the National Institutes of Health. So Senator Rand Paul is not somebody to pull punches. But I heard him talking. This was after Senator Hawley's questioning, and Clay and Buck were kind of doing some live coverage as this was ongoing yesterday. And they had Senator Paul on, and he said, this is, he was dialing it down. He clearly was dialing down, trying to lower the temperature in the room and saying, I have great respect for the people in the Secret Service and for this acting director, and this is a tough situation, and we've got to be. Now, coming from anybody else, I don't think I would have taken that very well, but coming from Senator Rand Paul, a guy who is he's a pretty darn tough character. If you've watched him, when he's saying that, it says something. There are a lot of questions here yet regarding so that's what was ongoing yesterday. And so as part of this, Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee asked Roe why the public had lost trust in the Secret Service. And She read from an email which was sent by a Secret Service counter sniper during this hearing. And he wrote, "This agency needs to change. And if not now, when? The next assassination in 30 days?" And that email actually goes on to say that he expects another assassination attempt soon. This agent. So he said, this agency needs to change. This is his email. He says, if not now, when? The next assassination attempt in 30 days? We all should expect another attempt to happen before November. We've exposed our inability to protect our leaders due to our leadership. So this is a sniper who has not been named. We don't know who it is. And he said that high-level supervisors need to resign. See, and this is where I have thought that it is, what's going on at the Secret Service is a lot deeper than just, the director. And you saw that yesterday now from the acting director. And as they were talking about how decisions were made, and it's like decision by committee. Who's responsible? Who's individually responsible for this? And now it was kind of we all kind of decided that really? I mean, really? What kind of nonsense is that? Those of us who have been in the military, you know what an absolute bunk and that is. That's just crap. I mean, and I'm being incredibly kind here. That's just crap. This making decisions by committee. Anybody who has served in the military knows better than this. Anybody. I mean, I spent, a few years in the National Guard. I was not an officer. I was a non-commissioned officer for near the end of my service, but I served for 6 years, part-time in the National Guard. Never went on, really, truly active duty. Never was called up. And even I know this is a bunch of crap. You do not make decisions by committee. And that's basically, and I heard him saying this yesterday. And this is why Senator Hawley got so upset is, who are these people and why are you not firing people? And so they apparently, you've got this unnamed sniper saying these high-level supervisors should resign. He said, sadly, we have fallen short for years, capital letters. We just got lucky and look good doing it. I've conveyed these thoughts to not only supervisors, but only to be brushed off as those with less experience somehow knew more than me. So the sniper is a veteran of the Marine Corps. So again, and this is where I think even, and I'm not comparing myself to those of you who have served in the Marine Corps at all. Don't take it. But I think even I would not paint my own military experience as extensive. So if a guy who does not have very extensive military service knows that this is just absolute crap, the way the Secret Service is being run, I mean, how obvious then does it have to be? It's just absolutely crazy. So we'll talk about that in more detail coming up this morning. The next assassination attempt expected soon, and we'll give a nod to Susan Crabtree, who's a reporter over at Real Clear Politics. She's been doing some great reporting and commenting on X in regard to this. And forgive me, I've just gotten carried away with myself because I think that story is incredibly important. It's a big story, and we'll get your reaction coming up You can always drop me an email anytime, greg.belfrage@kelo.com. Also, we had Kamala Harris telling Trump to say it to my face. She's challenging Donald Trump to a debate. She will be holding rallies with her vice presidential pick. She will be making the pick a week from yesterday. So coming Tuesday, she will make her vice presidential pick known. And I assume we'll know it before then. I'm just not too excited about who the running mates are. And that's true also. You hear me say that about Donald Trump, who his running mate was going to be. I'm like, let's just wait and see. What's all the hysteria about? Also, The Hill says that Harris is pulling ahead of Donald Trump now in swing states, according to polling. It's a Bloomberg News Morning Consult poll that Harris and Trump now are neck and neck. And you know what you can do with polls. Also, you had a number of left-wing white men on a Zoom call on Monday evening that many are describing as cringe on social media. White men for Harris. And I watched some of that. It's like some of the, wow. As we talk about the debate, by the way, Donald Trump's deputy communications director said that Trump will debate Harris if she's the Democrat nominee. So if she's the Democrat nominee, absolutely Trump will debate her. And Trump has talked about that. Speaking of Trump, this is worth getting your thoughts on this morning. Trump slamming Facebook and Google for censorship after search results on the assassination attempt were omitted. Images were deleted. Images of Trump, a bloody Trump with his fist in the air. You've seen them. And so Trump on True Socials yesterday said, Facebook has just admitted that it wrongly censored the Trump attempted assassination photo and got caught. Same thing for Google. They made it virtually impossible to find pictures or anything about this heinous act. Both are facing big backlash over censorship claims. Here we go again. Another attempt at rigging the election. Go after Meta and Google. Let them know we are all wise to them. We'll be much tougher this time, he said on True Social. So that's a big story. I think certainly worthy of some conversation this morning. I'm always curious, how much do you trust, especially Meta, Facebook? I mean, and I say this is somebody on Facebook, like everybody is. Well, not everybody. Some of you aren't, but I'm on Facebook. But when it comes to trust, certainly no. And I'm certainly not getting news information from them but when folks are trying to share news and they're deleting photos and not allowing, it's deeply troubling stuff. Other big stories this morning. The leader of Hamas was killed along with one of his bodyguards in Iran. This is Ismail Haniyeh. He was the head of Hamas's political bureau, and his death was announced by Iran, confirmed by Hamas earlier today. And so Hamas has immediately blamed Israel for the death. That he left his residence after participating in the inauguration ceremony of the new Iranian president. And so again, they're blaming Israel for this, but he was assassinated in Tehran. And this was announced earlier this morning. That's quite a big story. Also, Kerry Lake won a closer than expected Republican primary to replace outgoing Senator Kristen Sinema. Not a moment too soon. Lake will be running against Representative Ruben Gallego of Arizona. So it'll be Lake versus Representative Gallego. And Kerry Lake ran unsuccessfully for governor in 2022. She received 53% of the vote. So she will have another run, this time at the United States Senate. And then also, you've got to talk about the Olympic Games, of course, underway. And I thought there's an opinion piece by Kristen Fleming at the New York Post this morning that says it very well. Simone Biles and company are the unifying heroes that our squabbling country needs right now. And that's where I think, sports has the ability to be able to draw people together. And Simone Biles having the Olympics are just outstanding, winning a gold. And especially, she's had a number of setbacks. I remember last time she was at the Olympic Games, she quit in the middle of the games. She was having personal issues and so on. So it's really kind of cool to see her succeed. And that's a look this morning at the big stories. Thanks so much for letting me join you. It's partly cloudy and 74 currently at Kello. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show, brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Weeknights 5 to 8.
Okay. Two Sioux Falls locations to serve you. Are you watching the Olympics at all? Okay, coming up, we'll run down stories that are trending this morning. Also, we'll take a look at news headlines here for you coming up in just a moment. If you're watching live this morning.
Galleria store next to Starbucks. Don't miss the Lacrosse and Boys Ranch Extreme Event Challenge by Pipestone. Also brought to you by Blue Tide Car Wash and Midwest Communications. Saturday, August 24th, featuring the most active events in rodeo, barrel racing, the Northern Bull Riding Tour, and the wildest show on Roll Mutton Buck Sale. Tickets are just $15 an event. For adults 12 and under, just $5. Get your tickets at lacrossin.org or Hagel's Western Store. Proceeds support programs for at-risk youth at Lacrosse and Boys. Gates open at 3:30.
Stop what you're doing and listen to this. Your God-given freedoms are up for the taking. And those doing the taking are the same people who've sworn to defend your freedom. They think they can control the media, hide the truth, and force their delusions onto your family. You know what they can't take away? Self-reliance, peace of mind. Got water filtration? You should. A charged solar generator? You better. Emergency food supply? Get it now. From My Patriot Supply. My Patriot Supply is the most trusted name in survival.
I really try to catch my breath during these when I get a break, because I feel like it's go, 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 go. And then I look at the clock and time is up. And so I catch my breath and relax for a few moments.
Did I mention it's delicious? Go to mypatriotsupply.com and save $200.
That Secret Service testimony yesterday in front of the Senate was just absolutely infuriating. And I said on Facebook, hoping with the new, Secret Service director that things were going to improve, and yeah, not the case. It was pretty Pretty maddening yesterday.
Stay tuned from the Storm Center at Kettleland TV.
And currently in Sioux Falls, partly cloudy skies, 74. We'll check in with Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center coming up in moments. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
I'm Chris Foster. Iran's supreme leader vows revenge against Israel for the assassination of the political leader of Hamas in Iran, the second assassination of an Israeli enemy in 12 hours using a drone and a missile.
The two targeted killings took place in Tehran and Beirut. First, Hezbollah's top military commander, Fouad Shukar, who Israel blamed for that rocket strike in the Golan Heights that killed 12 children. The leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, was killed just after the inauguration of Iran's new president.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Vice President Kamala Harris plans to campaign in 7 cities next week with whoever she's chosen as running mate, telling a crowd in Atlanta.
As president, I will bring back the border security bill that Donald Trump killed, and I will sign it into law and show Donald Trump what real leadership looks like.
America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. South Dakota lawmakers met on budget issues in Pierre yesterday, showing their concern.
Over the next year, 2 or 3, we might be in some perilous financial times. I'll leave it at that.
That's Senator Jim Bolin of Canton of Legislature Appropriations Committee, as state budget officials point out a decline in state sales tax revenues. The committee is also weighing another major challenge, the impact of initiated Measure 28. It would repeal the state sales tax on anything sold for human consumption, including tobacco.
Robert Downey Jr. is Dr. Doom.
I am 20.
Oh,
close to
that story's actually trending. I love Robert Downey Jr. Dr. Doom, he'll be great.
Tax revenue, which would have to be replaced. Cleanup continues.
No more Tony Stark, no more Iron Man, so now he's Dr. Doom.
The area Monday night with 70-mile-an-hour winds and golf ball-sized hail. In winter, the storm tossed 2x4s into a building, damaged the screen at a drive-in theater, and tore part of the roof off of the Tripp County Veterans Memorial. In Vermilion, trees were uprooted or split apart in the town's historic district.
I'm such a geek anyway. I mean, as you
a pickup
can
truck
tell.
caught fire and exploded in an eastern Sioux Falls neighborhood last night. The truck was hauling 2 off-road vehicles when the engine ignited after what sounded like an explosion. Emergency crews responded to the area of 12th and Holt. The driver got out okay, no injuries reported. Crews were unable to determine what caused the fire. And the Sioux Falls Canaries are still hanging on to the top spot in the West Division. The Birds beat the number 2 Redhawks last night 4-3. They scored all 4 runs in the first. The teams meet in Fargo again tonight for Game 2 in the 3-game set. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9. Here's your forecast update for the Sioux Falls area. We're going to watch the chances of severe weather mid to late afternoon. Our temperature today.
All right. Got a few minutes left here.
Northwest will be coming on in. Again, strong damaging winds and large hail a possibility. Low tonight at 66.
Wow, this Meta, do you see this? Meta settling a $1.4 billion lawsuit with the state of Texas. That's just with Texas. They were the only state. Wow. Admitting no wrongdoing. You don't pay $1.4 billion if there's no wrongdoing. You know what I mean? Wow.
Attention business owners, get a one-of-a-kind flexible financing program at netsuite.com/can. The vote of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission was unanimous. Amazon certainly is responsible if they sell you something that later proves to be dangerous, even if it's not their own product. The commission rightly voted that Amazon is a distributor, so it bears legal responsibility to refund all dangerous and defective products it sells. So now it's scrambling to notify customers that 400,000 products should be sent back for a full refund. Amazon fought this common sense ruling tooth and nail. They failed to notify you about hazardous products. After the ruling, Amazon's lawyers say that they're disappointed. Yeah, disappointed for being forced to do what's right. If you're not tech ahead, you'll be tech behind, left in the dust. Get my free newsletter at getkim.com. Okay, quick math. The less your business spends on operations, on multiple systems, on delivering your product or service, the more money you keep. It's obvious. But with higher expenses on materials, employees, distribution, and borrowing, everything costs more. So to reduce costs and headaches, small businesses are graduating to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one platform. With NetSuite, you reduce IT costs because NetSuite lives in the cloud with no hardware required. Access from anywhere. You cut the cost of maintaining multiple systems because you've got one unified suite. And you're improving efficiency by bringing all your major business processes into one platform, slashing manual tasks and errors. So do the math. See how
Again, in this hour, I really just try to touch on as many stories as I can for you, so that as you have time to think, you hear something that interests you, you can go find more information on it. So I try to, especially in the stories that are trending this morning, there's several dozen of them that I run down for you each morning. Again, you hear something catches your ear, go out there, do a search, and find more information. Free Spoke has got a great search engine. I prefer it over Google for a number of reasons.
There are so many reasons to attend Dakota Fest, August 20th through the 22nd. And
Got it.
visit over 400 exhibitors ready to talk to you about all.
About a minute and a half here.
You can do it all at Dakota Fest, August 20th through 22nd. For tickets, visit dakotafest.com to save.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's a free option for saving money on your medication. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to goodrx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we created a free policy value calculator.
Very much in need of coffee this morning. Wednesday. By Wednesday, I start really running out of steam. And it's not unusual that on Wednesday nights I wind up going to bed maybe earlier than I do normally, because I start getting a little worn down.
Just say, Alexa, play Kello News Talk.
Or download our free app at Kello.com and let Greg Belfrage join you for breakfast every weekday morning.
Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
6:38. Partly cloudy and 74. Good morning, my friend. Great to have you along. I really do appreciate it. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Also coming up, we'll do this coming up around sometime around 7:30 this morning. I'll give you a chance to win those 2 evening passes to Wild Water West Water Park. So be listening for your chance to win coming up about an hour from now.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Scout.
Now, the FBI has discovered a social media account with anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes that may be linked to Donald Trump's shooter. So Forbes says the FBI found over 700 comments on the account, including some reflecting these anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes, to espouse political violence. And the comments were extreme in nature. And they believe the shooter was responsible for these. So he espoused political violence. This is a federal investigator in a story from CNN. Officials have repeatedly said they have struggled to understand the 20-year-old shooter's motive and that they are combing his online presence for more information. And again, what they found, they're having to work for, because he worked very hard to cover up what he was doing and to try to hide that. So they're finding these things, and then they're not actually even certain that it's him. And this has not been a good moment for the FBI. It's not been a good moment for the Secret Service, you know. Also, the director of Project 2025 has resigned from the Heritage Foundation. And there have been a number of stories about Project 2025, and coming mostly from Democrats attacking it. And really the undoing, I think, here of the director was that Donald Trump was like, I know nothing about this. And it's, you know, he was saying, he questioned whether or not there was even a need for it. And Donald Trump had some pretty harsh criticism of it. And so now, is after Trump just really kind of retreated from this and that there's not a need for it and so on, now the director of this Project 2025 has resigned. His name is Paul Dans, leaving his post, and this was confirmed yesterday. Dr. Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation, said in his statement that Dans will be departing after having led the transition initiative for the past 2 years. So the typical kind of, oh, thank you. Now get out. You know what I mean? So, but publicly it's all, smiles. And yeah, it's not been a great moment for the Heritage Foundation and their Project 2025. Let's talk about the Olympics. Simone Biles leading the U.S. women's gymnastics to gold. Pretty incredible. And so she's been leading the U.S. women's gymnastics team to Olympic gold. And it's kind of a redemption tour. And it's really nice to see Simone Biles back on top after having to leave the Olympics 4 years ago, and pretty incredible. So she is, she's talked about this at length, and it's good to see. I mean, she's an incredible talent. She's an incredible athlete, and she has had some personal, and is in need of counseling, dealing with mental health issues, and she's bouncing back. So it's pretty cool to see that. Also, Iran saying the leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, was assassinated in Tehran, and they're blaming Israel for this. That story is big. Also, Israel's saying that it killed a Hezbollah senior military commander during a airstrike in a Beirut suburb. So the Israeli military said yesterday that it had killed Hezbollah's most senior military commander. And it's raising the stakes of escalating tensions then over in the Middle East. And as they're talking about this, also there are stories, the explosion was heard. This was in response now. I want to back up just a bit. Israel's most recent attack was in response for this strike in the Golan Heights over the weekend that killed 12 children, And so Israeli Defense Forces responded pretty definitively. And they said they carried out a targeted strike in Beirut on the commander responsible for the murder of the children. Also, Meta has agreed to a $1.4 billion, that's a billion with a B as in boy, a $1.4 billion settlement in Texas. And it was Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton who filed the suit. And this was over biometric data that they were using in Facebook images, and all the while denying that they were doing it. And of course, they were doing it. And otherwise, I mean, if you weren't doing it, you don't agree to a $1.4 billion settlement. I mean, that's, I think, what many of us likely are going to be taking away from this. I would certainly what I am. So it's a historic settlement. And they've settled that lawsuit. Paxton released a statement, and he said, you know, we have vigorously pursued justice for our citizens, again, he said, whose privacy rights were violated by Meta's use of facial recognition software. I'm proud to announce that we have reached the largest settlement ever obtained from an action brought by a single state. Yeah, they were the only one. Texas was the only state that was part of that lawsuit. Wow. $1.4 billion. Also, there are reports U.S. Intelligence officials say that Iran is trying to sabotage Donald Trump's presidential campaign. And this was according to an unidentified source who spoke to the Wall Street Journal, saying that Iran now is trying to impact Donald Trump's campaign. Speaking of Trump, he's saying he probably will debate Kamala Harris, but he also said you can also make a case for not debating her, he said. And, of course, Kamala Harris and Democrats, oh, he's scared. Anybody who knows Donald Trump knows Donald Trump, fear is not one thing that, you know, that you see coming from Trump. Fear is not part of his lexicon. That's not who he is. I mean, so that's just the usual political noise, you know. So he's saying he probably will debate Kamala, but will we need a debate? And his campaign is saying now that, yes, he will debate Kamala once she actually wins the Democratic nomination. So keep in mind, Democratic conventions coming up. Will she be the nominee? You know, many are expecting that she will be. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that she will receive the nod, but who knows? We'll see. So what the Trump campaign is actually saying is, yeah, they will debate Kamala Harris if she's the one then to receive the Democratic nomination. Also, there are other Olympic stories that are out there. Two boxers who were banned from the World Championships for being, it was found they were biological males, right? They were males. Well, they have now been cleared to compete at the Olympics as women, as boxers. And there's a lot of reaction to this. The bosses at the IOC said that they have met the eligibility criteria and they'll be boxing over the coming days. And this was bringing some pretty strong responses from people online. What was it? I thought, one user on X said, men punching women is now officially an Olympic sport. Crazy. Also, White Dudes for Harris is the latest in a series of Zoom gatherings backing Kamala Harris. You have Mark Hamill and Jeff Bridges, who are a part of this. White Dudes for Harris. And the Associated Press says, so it's probably fitting that the dude dropped in, Jeff Bridges. This is a fundraising event geared toward white men supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. This happened on Monday. And I saw a particularly sickening story involving Mark Hamill and the use of the force, and with, the white men, they're a force. And I'm like, really? Could we leave the Star Wars lexicon out of it, Mark? I mean, come on, man. It's just like, you don't have to poison. I mean, it's getting to a point. He's become so sickening to me. I have trouble watching the Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy that I love. He's just harder and harder to watch some of these people, I think, in the work they do. Also, in a much lighter vein, Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And he will appear in a new Avengers movie titled Avengers Doomsday, and he will be appearing as Dr. Doom. And so he unveiled this to much surprise. He's wearing a Dr. Doom mask, and he came out, he was hood on, and he comes out and peels off the mask, and the crowd goes nuts. He is, I do like Robert Downey Jr. So he, of course, played Iron Man, Tony Stark, and just was incredible at that. So now, being one of the greatest heroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, now returning as one of the greatest villains of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think, it takes a pretty incredible actor to be able to pull that off. So that'll be interesting to see. Also, Facebook admitting to, and I shared this story with you yesterday, it's trending this morning, Meta Platforms admitted to accidentally, that's the word they used, accidentally censoring the photo of bloody Donald Trump with his fist in the air. And the explanation on the site said independent fact checkers. Here we go. Here we go again. This is the kind of stuff we used to get from Twitter all the time. Independent fact checkers. Oh, please. Independent fact checkers reviewed a similar photo and said it was altered in a way that could mislead people. So it was that photo that they were after and trying to stop, showed the Secret Service agent smiling at a bloodied Trump. So they were trying to stop that photo, but, they're using AI. So AI went and said the actual real photo, that meets the criteria. Can't show that. Can't show that photo. So now they are, is that an apology? Or an explanation? I think it's not really they're admitting it was an error. The fact check, they said, was an error. This has been fixed, and we apologize for the mistake. So they are apologizing for it. That means much. Also, the U.S. Senate has passed a bill to protect kids online and make tech companies accountable for harmful content. So the Senate has passed the Child Online Safety Bill, and it now goes to the House of Representatives. And the New York Times says the fate of the bill is uncertain in the House, according to the New York Times. But the idea of making tech companies accountable for content that's harmful to kids, I think there are a number of people who support that. Certainly among parents, a lot of parents who support that. And then finally, trending this morning, Green Day has they're facing an onslaught of boycott calls after their lead singer held up a Trump mask and changed the lyrics to a popular song just after the president was shot at. So holding up the Trump mask would seem to be like holding up Trump's head. Here we go again. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Wasn't it Kathy Griffin who did something similar? Remember her kind of destroyed her career for a time, and she'd been struggling to get back into, oh man, here we go again. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I think is the lesson that many of us come away with from that. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Beautiful morning, sunshine at 74. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
Kello for News in the Morning.
Well, thank you so much, my friend, for letting me join you for a little while this morning here on YouTube. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. Very much appreciated. Drop me an email anytime, greg.belfrage@kelo.com. Otherwise, take care. Have a great, what is it today? Wednesday already. Have a great Wednesday. And I'll see you again tomorrow, and may God bless.
Tag out this season or shop our full selection online at shields.com. Get prepared and save